Hi, welcome back to Starting in the Middle, a show where I talk about a creative endeavor that's not quite done. On this episode, I'm going to be talking to you about a set of lights I've made for a photographic project that I'm doing. I like to shoot a lot of photo reference for the illustrations I do, as we discussed in the last episode where I was building a miniature. But I also like to shoot human models, and for these I like to do some unusual lighting. I'm a really big fan of really strong directional lighting, and I like to let that influence how my final illustrations look. To this end, I like to build some custom lights, and I've done that with a couple of fluorescent tubes that I'm going to be showing you right now. About this project, the first thing I should do is give you a word of caution. Here we're working with household electrical current. It can be pretty dangerous, so you have to take some steps to play it safe. I was fortunate to work with an actual electrician for this who is a friend of mine. First, let me go over the supplies I used for this project. I used a pair of T8 fluorescent lights. They're nice, they're bright, they're power efficient, and they're compact and they feel good to hold in the hand. And that's important for this project, as you'll see. I also got a pair of bulb protectors. They're actually just a clear plastic tube that's just a little bit larger in diameter than the T8 bulb, and they have a little end cap on each end to keep the plastic tube in place around the T8 bulb. And they're really useful because I'm going to have people hand holding these bulbs, maybe moving them around a little bit, and I want something there in case the bulb has a sharp impact. I don't want it to break, or if it does break, I want something to contain the broken glass and the mercury and everything else that's in these fluorescent bulbs. Next up, I had to buy replacement end caps for light fixtures. Because I'm not actually going to be installing these bulbs into a light fixture, I needed to get the end caps that would normally replace end caps inside a light fixture so that I'd actually be able to wire the bulbs up to a power source without having to wire directly to the terminals on the ends of the bulbs. That wouldn't be very safe, and I'd like to, not shock myself or any of my models to death. Next up, we have the question of actually getting power from the wall outlet to the bulb. You may or may not know this, but you can't actually just directly run wall current to a fluorescent bulb. To actually get power from the wall to the bulbs safely and actually make them work, you need a ballast. Instead of buying a fixture and breaking it down, I just bought a replacement ballast. Now, make sure that when you're buying a ballast, if you choose to do a project like this, you buy one that's rated for the type of bulbs you have and for the number of bulbs you want to hook up to it. For my project, I needed a ballast that would power 2 T8 4-foot bulbs, so that's what I got. Other supplies I needed for this project, other than the bulbs, the bulb protectors, the end caps, and the ballast, were wire, wire strippers, wire connectors, electrical tape, and an actual plug so I could turn this whole thing into a thing I can plug into a standard outlet. For the wires, I actually just bought lamp cord. So it's a cord that you would normally use to replace the cord on a broken desktop lamp or floor lamp, and you can get it. I got it in a 15-foot length, and it's a pair left and right wires, pretty inexpensive. And the good thing about that wire is you can actually take a razor blade and with a little bit of care you can actually split it down the middle and use the two sides of the wire as separate conductors, and they're both still fully insulated. Unfortunately, I went ahead and built the lights when I had the free time and when my electrician friend had the time to actually come over and give me a hand with this. And because I didn't want to waste any of her valuable time, I went ahead and just built the lights with her instead of putting the camera on and trying to do this whole spiel while building the lights. But as I've got them in front of you and completed, I'll actually go ahead and show you what they look like all put together and explain how I've wired everything in. As you can see in the frame right now, you've got the wire strippers, 2 pair of needle nose pliers I used to help get things in and out of where they needed to be. In the top half of the frame, you can see a standard power strip. One of the mistakes I made, potentially, or design flaws in what I've created, is that there's no switch on anywhere on this device. As a result, plugging it in means it's turned on. So I actually use a power strip with a switch on it as the power switch for the entire system, meaning I plug the power strip in and I use the switch on that to turn the lights on and off. This isn't a perfect solution, and at some point in the future I may wire a switch into this whole setup somewhere. Below the power strip, you'll see a black box. That black box is actually the ballast. It's a replacement ballast for a 2-bulb fixture. 2-bulb T8 4-foot fixture. And coming out of that are the wires that normally go to ground and to the power supply for that fixture. Now obviously there is no fixture here, so we've actually got those 3 wires going into a socket so it can plug into a wall. Coming from the other end of the ballast, we've got the wires heading out to this junction we've created to actually carry the current to the bulbs. And you'll notice that all of the wires go to one bulb first, and then from that bulb to the other bulb. I did this specifically because I want a person, one of my models, if I have the model holding the bulbs directly, I want them to be able to hold the 2 bulbs apart at arm's length. And I've certainly got some models who are over 6 foot, and in general a person's arm span is roughly equal to their height. So I need the 2 bulbs to be able to be held apart at least 6 feet apart. So I've actually got about 7 feet of wire leading from one bulb to the other. And I've actually got about 6 feet of wire leading from the ballast to the bulb. Thanks for joining me on Starting in the Middle. Before we go, I'd like to show you the final illustration done from the photo shoot we did last time. On the screen, I'm showing you a little bit of the process I went through to get this digital painting done. As you see, it progressed from the photograph that we did all the way up to the completed digital painting. Thanks for joining me. I hope you like what you've seen, and I hope you'll join me next time when I talk about some character sheet design I'm doing, and I'll show you some of the user testing I've done to get it to its current state.